Welcome to Inside the Roundtable. I'm Dick Clark. I'm the CEO and President of Clark Leadership Consulting and the Chairman of the CEO Roundtable. We're a group of futurists. So why would space interest us? Well, in 2024, the space industry globally represented $600 billion, with the commercial activity making up 80% of that. In less than 10 years, it's going to be $2 trillion. Incredible. And today, there's over 370,000 professionals that are now employed in the space economy, and more than half are STEM-centric roles. The CEO Roundtable today took a look at the space industry, and as futurists, why should that interest us? Well, it's going to change the way we live. We know that Artemis is going to be launched. We're going back to the moon. But do you remember that in 1969, we first landed on the moon? We haven't been back since 1969. Now we're going to be flying around the moon, and it won't be long before we're landing back on the moon again. But what about Mars? When people talk about, establishing a colony on Mars with people from Earth living there, they kind of think, well, that's a long way away. Not quite. It's actually going to be probably about the same time as the 2 trillion. And I personally think that that's underestimating what that industry is going to be producing. So today we were really pleased to have James Burk, who is the executive director of the Mars Society. They've been around since the late 90s, and they are the cutting edge organization whose focus is the planet Mars. And I'm going to give you a briefing tonight on what we learned today in our 90-minute meeting with James. And we also have the former deputy director of the Kennedy Space Center as a member of our group. So it was kind of our space day. But there's a lot to consider why that's important, and particularly why it's important for the next generation. So let's talk a little bit about what the Mars Society is to kind of set the stage. The Mars Society is a not-for-profit organization. Its purpose is to facilitate the development of the technology needed in order to send first a cargo mission to Mars, followed by sending a crew to land on Mars. So what's happening between now and then? Well, the Mars Society, which is global, they have members throughout the world, and when they have national conferences, they attract people from all over the world to attend. People who are really interested in the future are watching this organization carefully. And they should, because it's going to affect their children, their grandchildren, and if they're our younger audience, it's going to affect you. Probably the majority of people who are really involved in the space industry are probably today under 35 years old. It's a tremendous opportunity. So let's talk about the structure of the Mars Society. They're doing a lot of things, but one of the things that should interest us is what they're doing now is developing the technologies that are necessary to live and survive on a planet that has no resources. It's not like Earth, where you want to buy some fruit, you go to the store and buy it. Not on Mars. You're going to need to figure out how to grow it. And if you want to do anything on Mars, you're going to have to figure out how to develop it on site. So there's a lot of learning curves. So they created the Mars Institute of Technology. This is an incredible brainstorm that Robert Zubrin, who is the founder, James Burk, and the whole team worked on together. This was a vision of Robert Zubrin back in the mid 90s, before he actually formed the Mars Society. So this group is working on technologies today that they're going to use on Mars. But very similar to what NASA did with the International Space Station, so many of the things that you and I depend upon every day in our lives, they were discovered on the space station. The same thing is true with the Mars Technology Institute. So last Wednesday, I had a chance, in fact, last Friday, I had a chance to sit in with some of the real brains behind developing some of that technology. They came from all over the United States, and also people from in different parts of the world. And we had a chance to understand what they're working on. So the key is they're developing technology that can be used now. Now, the Institute is a 501c3. It's a not-for-profit. So it's funded by people like you and me and others who are interested in investing in an organization that is producing results that are going to make life on Earth better. To take a side step for a second, they have a program called Mars Against Hunger. This is phenomenal. They are working on technology that will solve the problem of hunger in the world. And it's not impossible, and it's not that far away. But there are certain technologies that they're developing that will cause hunger just to disappear. Why is that important? Well, it's important to us. Why is that important on Mars? Because everything they eat, they're going to produce. So they have to learn how to produce in a relatively small environment. So that's really an important part of the issue, to make it self-sufficient. Now, what about people who are interested in the space industry? Do you know today, in 2026, there's a talent shortage of trying to find people to work in the space industry. And we haven't even begun to really see the job opportunities that exist in that industry. So, and especially if you're talking about under 35 years old, it's not limited to that, but that's what it is today. So the organization is already active. They have sites that simulate sites that would be on the planet. So there's one in Utah in the middle of the desert. There's one up in the polar region, and there's another in another part of the world, and there's more planned. And these are college interns that get to spend 2 weeks on, particularly, it looks like, in every aspect, it looks like Mars. So when they walk outside, they have to have a spacesuit, the same as they would on the moon. So every 2 weeks, you get a chance to give an opportunity for young people to feel what it's like and to get them interested. But if we're talking about they're having trouble finding talent today, what are we going to do 2 years from now, 5 years from now? So this is an opportunity for young people to work in something that's never been done before. Never been done before. Has to be exciting for young people that really don't know what they want to do, but when they watch the movies and they see there's there's one out right now called The Martian. It's just amazing. They gravitate to that, but it also encourages them to study about it, learn about it, become a kind of a personal expert on it. So that is really key. 95% of the companies, 95% of the companies today report talent shortages, meaning the demand for the right skills is way ahead of the supply. So remember we talked about last week about education? Well, here we are. Here is the opportunity of a lifetime. First time ever. And what are we doing to make sure that we have curriculums? Math and science has always been important, but now it's going to be really important. But there's jobs for everybody in that area. So what's the holdup? Why can't we go? One of the members asked a question that there's windows that they can launch, and it's about 2 years between the windows. And one of the people asked, why is there 2 years? It's the rotation of the planet Mars and the rotation of the planet Earth around the sun. And they have to be lined up so that when you take off, by the time it gets there, because it's I remember from my notes, it takes it's a 3-year process between leaving and then coming back. So it takes a long time to get there. But there's one thing that we haven't yet mastered. Working on it, but not mastered. How do we refuel the rocket that's taking them to Mars? We haven't done that yet. We're making a lot of progress on it, and it should be done. So what's happening with that? We're trying to perfect that, and that's really driven in the private sector. And where are we practicing with that? In outer space, but not necessarily between here and Mars. But as you know, there's no filling stations once you leave the atmosphere and you're traveling to Mars. So there has to be a system where it can refill the energy they need to get there. So that's another important area. So if you want to find out more about the Mars Society, just go to themars.society.com and you see their website. But if you want to become active in it, you can reach out to the Mars Society, which is headquartered in Seattle, James Burk, who you can leave a message for, or contact me. I'm on their International Advisory Board, and I just joined their MTI team. Those are the people who are developing these technologies. But it's a great opportunity for you to be on the ground floor of what's happening. So I left today very enthusiastic about it. And, you know, a lot of the people on the CEO Roundtable, you know, some of them are retired, and I think their biggest disappointment is that they're concerned that they're not going to be here to witness the actual launch to Mars. But we're talking about less than 10 years and it depends upon that fueling issue. They're going to send a cargo mission to Mars. And then once that's completed, then we're ready to send a crew. And of course, you can't run home for the weekend. So these people understand what commitment it is. But I asked James Burk, do you think you're going to have problems finding people who are willing to leave Earth forever and spend the rest of their life on Mars? He said, we have people lined up who want to do it. So I don't think we're going to have a problem when you look at the size of a crew for any of the NASA projects or SpaceX or whatever. So it's really exciting, and I encourage you to find out more about it, and we'll fill you in next week. I don't know whether we have any questions tonight. Most people join just to listen. This will be on YouTube, so if you don't get a chance to see the rebroadcast on Facebook, it will be posted on YouTube, so you can copy it and send it to people. So it's pretty exciting, and I think we really found a subject that is relevant to today. So next Monday, I will tell you what we're going to be doing next week. So Mondays at 8 o'clock, and then once again next week, same time, same place, I will give you a briefing on our discussion and the topic next week. So thank you all for joining. I really appreciate taking the time to learn about these things. And if you're ever interested in finding out more about the CEO Roundtable, you know how to get a hold of me. So it's a growing organization. This was the 258th weekly meeting. So it's been around a while. People have been there from the beginning. So it's a good group. So thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll see you next Monday. Take care.